everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I am Sal.
And I'm Joel.
Welcome back, Joel. Thanks for being here, man.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, and thank you for all the nice words in the chat, too. Everyone happy to see me back again.
Yes, welcome Joel back, everybody. Won't be long before Joel's gone again. No.
I don't know, maybe. You don't know. You don't know what could happen tomorrow.
That's true, yeah. Joel could get a contract. He could be the new face of he could be Marvel's new Watcher and just have to soullessly read a teleprompter about how great Inhumans are.
Yeah, I don't even hate Inhumans, man.
Yeah, well, as it turns out, if you read the new X-Men Prime #1, mutants are just the same thing as Inhumans, according to Kitty Pryde, or somebody, I don't remember, one of the main characters. Maybe it was Storm. But somebody's monologue was like, as it turns out, there's virtually no difference between mutants and Inhumans. I was like, well, virtually, you're wrong as shit.
Let me ask you this. What was stupider, Kitty Pryde saying that, or during the Bendis era of X-Men? I don't even think he wrote it. It was Havoc who said it.
Oh.
When I think he was the leader of the it was the Uncanny Avengers, right? When he was still on that team, and he's like, well, humans and mutants were basically, the same. I'm just a person. Just call me Alex. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but that also completely flies in the face of all the suffering your people have had, and even Bendis kind of tagged.
Oh, he does.
It was Remember who wrote that in a previous issue where Kitty takes him to task for saying stupid shit.
Yeah, that was definitely an Uncanny Avengers when everyone was stupid. And I think Rick Remender? Yeah. Damn.
It was.
How weak. But today we're going to be talking about, apropos X-Men, we're talking about our favorite teams in comics. So this isn't, by the way, a list of, what you should think are the best teams. It's just our favorite teams.
Yeah.
And in our estimation, the best teams in comics, so I'll call it that. Why not? But
and I'm sure I'll have some underrated ones in there too, because if you haven't figured this out about me yet, Kate Joel loves him some Dark Horse teams. He loves him some underrated and underappreciated characters.
It's true. It's funny that we talk about this because immediately I was like, all right, well, I was looking up teams that I had to put up on for the cover, and I was thinking about Justice League and the Avengers and how they're the interchangeably biggest teams in comics, and yet those teams, when I was growing up, or at least when I was reading comics, were the worst teams.
They had their good years and bad years, don't they?
They really did, and it's funny, everybody knows, when I was reading comics, everybody knew those teams could have been better. But for whatever reason, they were all working on some kind of agenda of, let's just make it as shitty as possible and just torch the brand. Because for me, there was nothing more toxic than an Avenger. Literally the Avengers, for me, and I've talked about this on many occasions, the Avengers were the unsellables. No one's going to buy a Hawkeye book, no one's going to buy a Scarlet Witch book, nobody's going to buy a Wonder Man book, nobody's going to buy a Captain America book, despite the fact that they have to keep publishing Captain America books, even back then. The fact is, number one, all those people have had books since then. Some of them to much acclaim.
Yes.
But all of them were canceled at some point or another, except for Cap. But those teams were just choked with who gives a shit. Black Knight, Cersei, Moondragon was an Avenger, and we were all just like, what? I remember when at the end of Maximum Carnage, when they finally defeated Carnage, and then the Avengers came to clean up, and it was all White Vision, Eric Masterson, Thor. I want to say that Cersei was one of them as well, and Eternal. You want to talk about obscure something else other than mutants. I'm surprised.
That's an obscure-ass team.
I am shocked that Marvel hasn't been cramming the Eternals, and I think it's because, I don't know if did you read the Neil Gaiman, John Romita Jr. Eternals miniseries?
No, I didn't. How was it?
Not great, Joel.
Wasn't it?
Not great. It was interesting that they were trying it, but it was right on the heels of it was right after Civil War. And they tried to kind of fold it into the Marvel pantheon. They're like, okay, Eternals, that's an idea. And it had gorgeous covers, and it had John Romita Jr. was swinging for the fences for this one. It was World War Hulk level art, which take it or leave it. It's depending on your interpretation of Romita Jr.'s ability. But just a really boring book. About
the last time I remember the Eternals was hilariously enough in one of those Dark Horse underrated runs of a team that I loved. It was James Robinson's Invaders.
Oh, the Invaders! Yeah, I mean, the Invaders have a long, rich history of having existed.
They sure do. They went into space, and they fought the Eternals, and the stinger at the end of that story was, oh, hey, Galactus is still around and still alive, and we wouldn't see Galactus again until Ultimates, when he became the giver of life instead of the taker of life, and eater of worlds.
And the Invaders, of course, started out being Captain America's first team outside of Team America. With what was it, Namor and or Human Torch and Cap, and
Lady Liberty. Or is that DC? I don't know.
It was DC. But
too many patriotic themed heroes.
It's true, but the Invaders were cool. I always thought it was funny that a team of allied superheroes was called the Invaders.
Yeah, I know, right? Seems a little aggressive, seems a little aggro.
I mean, it seems a little like showing your hand, like, we're coming in to save you and take over. I don't think they did, but,
Hey, that was passable in World War II. We gotta reinvade all these places the Nazis took over.
Yeah. That's true. You got to reinvade it. I guess that was the concept. Although I think it would be more like recapture. Although recapturers kind of loses its luster.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Rescuers. It's like, what is that? That's nothing.
Yeah, but what were some of your favorite teams growing up that were like maybe not necessarily the one that was on everyone's like backpack or Trapper Keeper during the day?
Well, I mean, long before they blew up the world with having a cartoon that everyone loved, an anime-inspired cartoon, no less, I liked the Teen Titans as a teen. Shocker, I know, right?
They're supposed to be. They're supposed to appeal to younger people.
Absolutely.
Faust is a massive Teen Titans fan, the original Teen Titans. I didn't like the Teen Titans as a kid, although I was fascinated by them. I always liked their costumes. I really liked George Perez's art. But I was like,
how couldn't you?
But I couldn't get into them because I don't think I really understood them as a kid. I was like, I don't really get what Raven's all about, and I don't. And of course, she was mystically based, so that was a turnoff for me. I wasn't a big magic guy back in the day.
Right.
But no for me. But I get the Teen Titans, and of course, if you like the Teen Titans, then my guess is you were also a sucker for Young Justice.
Yes, most definitely. I liked that. I liked the cartoon that they did later. I thought they captured a lot of the stuff going on. What I liked about Titans, and it's something that's still very true about me today, I liked that they did the socially relevant stories, and I liked that they weren't afraid to pull from the headlines every so often. I remember, and oh god, it kills me that I can't remember what this was. It was damn near a PSA comic, but it marked an interesting time in culture and zeitgeist and the stuff that you're supposed to tell kids, where it used to be in like golden age stories involving kids, whenever there was runaways, it's like, hey kids, always go home, any problem can be solved, just be sure to always go home. That's what Batman and Superman says. But the Teen Titans are like, no, if you're having serious problems at home, don't go back there.
Right, go to an adult you can trust that isn't trying to hurt you.
Yeah, I liked that change where it's like, I think it was literally like Robin and Beast Boy being like, nah, it's cool, keep going.
I like...
Which it's like, man, these kids have had some abusive homes themselves, haven't they, considering how dickbaggy most of their fathers are.
This is fair, yeah, true that. For me, the biggest team growing up was the X-Men. Like, you could not escape it. It was unavoidable. I read X-Men during that time, and it was really not from a perspective of like, fuck, I love the X-Men, but from this is the team book.
Yeah. And the millions of iterations of X-Men that existed at that time.
Oh, and because it was during a time when the X-Men were having countless spin-offs and tie-ins to those spin-offs, you were exposed to every X-Man. It wasn't just like, oh, I dig the X-Men, like Cyclops and Wolverine. No, you were like, okay, no, I dig the X-Men, and I guess that means all of them, which like up to and includes people like Wolvesbane and Strong Guy. Like, all right.
What I appreciate about the X-Men is because they're such a vast, broad team, you could name one mutant and there's probably someone out there who, for them, Skin is their favorite mutant.
Right. No, people dig Skin. Not maybe the movie version. If you haven't seen Generation X, the Fox Dead movie, you should check it out, but only with our commentary, because it's unwatchable otherwise. But yeah, so what's your X-Men team? What was your, like, this is, for me, whenever you think of the X-Men, this is the team I go to.
I mean, I'm going to be horribly cliche here. Excuse me for being a basic bitch comic nerd here. But the one from the cartoon.
Yeah. Gambit, Jubilee, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast. Professor X, I guess. Like, but yeah,
it's shocking as a comic fan now to be like, wow, all those mutants I grew up loving and made me want to read X-Men comics. It's amazing how few of them are relevant anymore.
oh, not only irrelevant, but maybe not even on the table. Cyclops is dead, Wolverine's old, and I guess dead also. Gambit is, living in Beast's garage. Beast is like a monster, and I don't mean like he looks like a furry monster. I mean he, like, ruins the space-time continuum to prove a point. Like, he's a colossal dick. It's unbelievable.
On a whim, yeah. It's funny, too. The last time I really liked Gambit...
Yeah.
Yeah, Rogue
is ruined.
Yeah. The last time I really liked Gambit was in, ironically, another Dark Horse underrated team. The all-new it wasn't X-Force. It was X... Oh, God, Servile... No. Peter David wrote it for a bit. Oh, God, what was it? I loved it so much. They were a corporate...
Exiles?
No. They were a corporate team of X-Men. It was an old name they hadn't used in a bit.
X-Factor is what you're thinking.
X-Factor, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It was the all-new X-Factor, and it was them as a corporate team, and it was basically the guy who ran Servile went around hooking up Gambit and Polaris and Quicksilver and, like, mutants who hadn't done shit in forever, and they're like, hey, you want a job? And they're like, yeah.
Yes, I do. Desperately.
We want to eat. And that book sadly got canceled too soon into it, but basically Peter David was working up to a thing that the guy who ran Servile was actually from the Maestro's future, and that he escaped the Maestro and came to present day.
Oh my God, the Maestro! Peter David, let it go!
Never, ever, ever.
Never. The Maestro.
I'll tear the Maestro from my cold, dead hands.
That's true. Let me think of other teams. I mean, like, so the Justice League was completely forgettable and avoidable back when I was growing up. Like, my favorite teams, it was really, I never really had a favorite team. I was more of a loner kind of guy. I liked Spider-Man. I liked Punisher. I liked Daredevil. I liked
a good
Batman.
Team book is hard to write.
Yeah, everybody associates like one team that everybody can't forget or ignore is the Bat Family. Right?
Yes.
Like, that's a team. For me, I feel like that team is in direct contrast to who Batman is, so every time they're like, yeah, the Bat Family, and I'm like, yeah, there are too many of them.
Well, that's why every 2 years, Batman has to do the same cycle of, like, I promise I'll never lie to you guys again. Oh, no, I lied to you. You all hate me now. We got to spend, like, 2 to 3 years coming back together. I promise I'll never lie to you again. Oh, no, I lied to you again.
Yeah. Because, number one, comics are cyclical. The more things change, the more they stay the same when it comes to comics. But also, people have their favorite runs or versions of the character. I know that if somebody was like, you gotta write Batman, I'd be like, great, let's kill everybody! And they'll be like, you can't kill everybody. Well, then we'll make him a huge dick and make them leave him alone.
I remember I picked up, I was just, like, leafing through it, the beginning of, like, Under the Red Hood. And Batman's doing his, like, soliloquy argument there of, like, oh, I made all the sidekicks leave the city. What is it? I lost another Robin. She died and everything, because this was after Black Mask and War Games and everything. I have to be on my own now. And I was reading, because just at the same time in comics, like, Damian had just died, and Batman was going through literally the same thing.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, wow, the more things change, the more they stay the same, eh?
That's right. So I never considered Batman, although Batman did lead a team, and while I wasn't a huge reader of the team, it always captured my imagination, and it was Batman and the Outsiders.
I loved the Outsiders later when it was Winnick and it was more connected to Green Arrow, but yes, I have a soft spot for the Outsiders, actually.
I liked the idea of the Outsiders, and I liked the idea of Batman kind of like running/coordinating this team, but never really being on it. Like, I just loved my visual memory of the Outsiders is literally just an image of, it's called Batman and the Outsiders, and it's always Batman over here and then a whole bunch of other people over here, and Batman like yelling at them or yelling to do something about something. I'm always like, they're like the disgruntled, frustrated father who's like, I can't have a Bat family. I can't even manage these people over here. I really sucked it up when it was Justice League International, and I was trying to like run a place in Detroit with the Martian and the and the Bowl Cut. It was just a nightmare.
Which, I mean, Batman's kind of doing that right now with the Justice League of America, but at least, hey, I'm on this team.
Oh no, Justice League of America is literally just like, well, we didn't want to call it Justice League International, so we're just going to do that.
But hey, at least they could do a little better than like Geoforce or Katana and Metamorpho.
Yes, yes. I mean, for my money, like my team that I like deliberately sought out, it wasn't just like I want to be part of the comic book world, I have to read X-Men. It was Ninja Turtles.
Okay. So we're able to blow up the teams now to bigger ones.
Oh yeah, no, it's gotta be Ninja Turtles.
That's a good team, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I got into it as a kid, being like, I like Ninja Turtles. I think they're cool and stuff. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, and they're a family, and they trust each other, and they all have divergent personalities that shouldn't make them all work together, but they do anyway.
They're the four humors. They are the four people you will meet in life. The four main personality types.
Yeah, if you put them all together, you have one person. Like,
Yeah.
an angry leader an angry nerdy leader who loves pizza.
Yeah, pretty much all together. I've always dug that aspect about the Ninja Turtles, even though I haven't been like I've always kind of been like an outsider looking in and everything because I didn't grow up with it. Because again, I'm a little younger than you. My team that kind of did that for me was, of course, Power Rangers, which is big again because of the Kyle Higgins comic and that new movie and everything. So I mean, hey, if I can say comic teams, Kyle Higgins' new Power Rangers team too is really well put together.
No, you cannot deny the Power Rangers are a power team that appeals to a huge margin of people.
Oh yes.
Having watched the half in the bag of Power Rangers, I feel like I've seen it. So
I was amazed that they were as positive to it, but then again, I was amazed I was as positive to it as I was.
Especially given the fact that, as it turns out, they're like not even Power Rangers until like the last 20 minutes.
No, but ironically, that like 15 to 20 minute runtime, hey, that's as long as an average episode of Power Rangers is. Oh my god, you stuck an episode in here at the end of this Chronicle-esque movie.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get the idea that like the Power Rangers are popular, and they are a great comic book team because the comic has, I think, found its own audience separate from the show.
Yep.
So it
sure has. And
becomes
Kyle
something
Higgins,
else.
being a fan, has been able to build on stuff that the show never built on, never wanted to build on. And I don't know if you've been reading it right now. I doubt you have. But he's doing like Injustice and Days of Future Past, but with Power Rangers.
Okay, I mean that's a great hook, and I think it should.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure I could see the appeal. I would read that.
What in a dark future if Tommy remained the Green Ranger and helped Rita take over and enslave the entire world?
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that idea.
It's really fun. It's really, really fun.
Nice. I'm trying to think of other teams that I grew up reading where I was like, this is my team, besides the Ninja Turtles. I know that I had like exposure to crappy teams. It was just, for me, if you were on a team, you probably sucked.
It is a way, good team books are a way to kind of launch characters and give homes to characters who can't hold up a book on their own, that's for sure.
I know that, I remember, like, there was a team that, like, kind of formulated most of the time, and it was just, like, the street-level Marvel superheroes. Like, sometimes Spider-Man would team up with Moon Knight and the Punisher, and, like, I always, it's funny, for me, as a Spider-Man fan, my team, the team that, like, is the Beatles of the teams, is the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
First appeared, or rather, Spider-Man's first book had the Fantastic Four in it. He's inexorably tied to that team, to the point where
he wanted to join them.
He wanted to join them. I mean, he tried to join the Avengers as well, but, like, they were second.
They were number 2.
And you know why he wanted to join the Fantastic Four? Because he knew they had money.
Yeah.
And that forced me to have to get to know who the Fantastic Four were. As someone who was like everybody, where you look at the Fantastic Four and go, all right. I mean, really, no one is like, holy shit, the guy's on fire! That's a rock man! I have to read this book! No.
Occasionally a little robot.
Yeah. Oh, a shitty robot that is that's in place of the Human Torch, so
Look,
children
kids
don't set
might light
themselves
on fire.
Yeah,
So.
what the fuck? But I eventually... I grew up with a respect for the Fantastic Four, despite the fact that I never had a very strong interest in them. But
I feel that.
But I had respect for the team, and it forced me to read a bunch of Fantastic Four stories and get exposed to the larger world of their interdimensional travel, Doctor Doom, Mole Man, Annihilus, and the family aspect of teaming. And that's kind of the thing that makes me interested in a team, when they're kind of like a cohesive family. Like X-Men, I don't give a shit if they're fighting like the next mutant Hitler, but if they're all playing baseball, then I'm in.
It's the best, right?
Yeah, or if they're building a house together, that's where I'm interested.
It's the best.
They need to just do like really Aaron Sorkin-esque talky X-Men books. Like they just need one title that's just them dealing with the cerebral, talky, bullshit, boring human interactive drama that is
I'd like
X-Men.
that a lot.
I would read the shit out of that.
You need someone who's really good at dialogue and really good at characterization. Give that to Gail Simone. I bet Gail Simone could write the shit out of that.
Oh yeah, I would give it to. I mean, I saw that apparently Aaron Sorkin's interested in writing for Marvel or DC.
Really? All these years?
Yeah, I'd be like, do this, and then occasionally they can use powers. It would be close to the Joss Whedon run on Astonishing.
I think he would be perfect. I mean, he can't do it now because Doom is Iron Man, but I'd been sitting on like a Doom political procedural of like him just running Latveria and what's the day-to-day job being an international dictator and supervillain.
I would love to read that. I mean, in Invincible Iron Man, or whatever the hell it's called, Irredeemable Iron Man, when Doom goes to Latveria and he topples the military regime and he's just like, I know how to make it, like how to fix it. And then he moves on and leaves and fights the wizard. Yep. I'm like, no, I want to see that. I want to see him. I want to see how Bendis would run a small Eastern European country using totalitarian magic and science.
And for him to be like, no, the country stuff, I do that. That's my day job so I can focus on my passion, which is supervillain.
Which is destroying Richards.
That's my thing. Like, look, I got to make the trains run on time here. I got to balance the budget. I got to deal with civil unrest so I can build my Doombots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, we talked a little bit about the teams that we were exposed to when we first got into comics, Power Rangers, X-Men. Are there Teen Titans? Are there any others that you were like, that you got in on the ground floor, or do you want to move into teams that you actively sought out when you were more exposed to comics?
Okay, that's a really good question. What are some more teams that come to my mind here? Yeah, I mean, I think that's good for, like, the bases, everything. People in the chat keep saying Autobots. There's a pretty good team right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to do, actually, Ghostbusters is a team that I've always wanted to join since I was a small child.
That's an excellent one. Voltron, thank you, Manuel. There's another good one.
Because the G.I. Joe would be a team that, like, I know most of my peers were all interested in.
I think G.I. Joe trains kids for the workforce really well. You can't be the main guy. Every team needs a snow job. You might end up being Snow Job, kids, but you know what? He's important in some situations.
Yeah. I mean, Thundercats, the Gargoyles were another great team.
Oh, yeah.
Darkwing Duck's ridiculous little squad of friends. I mean, like, cartoons are a totally different ball game. But so far, except with, I think all of them have had comic book series, so not quite.
Everyone keeps saying Wildcats. Yes, the Wildcats.
Oh yeah, the Wildcats. I didn't like any of the teams in Image. Like, I read them. I read Youngblood, Wildcats, Stormwatch, The Authority. But I only wanted to. But the ones I wanted to read: Spawn, Max, Shadowhawk. Characters that were by themselves and did not want to work well with others. I like that. They always appealed to me. Spider-Man, for me, well, it was never a team player, despite the fact that he was the titular character, or that he was the main character in Marvel Team Up, where they teamed him up with everybody else. But that said, that's why it was a compelling series, because it was like, take this loner and put him with Namor and see what happens.
It's true.
I like that. Yeah. Gen 13 was another team that I used to read.
Oh, yes, of course. Sal has been carrying the torch for Gen 13 for a while.
For me, Gen 13 was my Teen Titans. Like, that was the team for me where I was like, these are teenagers. These are people. These are my people. They speak my language. They listen to the Butthole Surfers. I am totally all about that. It was, and of course it had the appropriate amount of cheesecake so that I could look at boobs and asses all day. Like, as a prepubescent child, that was probably very much a big factor in the whole thing.
I love too, you mentioned the Butthole Surfers there. I'm sure you heard the story that Jimmy Carter's daughter was like a huge fan of the Butthole Surfers, and she actually got invited backstage at one of their concerts. But Carter, which was very uncharacteristic for him, sent his Secret Service goons. It's like, you get her out of there.
That's amazing. I guess because he didn't want her to, like, lose her virtue to the Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, I just imagine just nice peanut farmer Jimmy Carter. You get her out of there right now, Secret Service.
Yeah. God. It's a very lovely man.
He sure was. He was almost too nice for politics.
Yeah. Oh, he was. Oh, there's no almost about it. The dude was not built for it, but nice guy. He also was the one who was like, he was one of the only presidents to go out and be like, aliens, are they real? And they're like, nope. And he's like, cool. And then he told them. Like, he's like, nope, I asked. There were no aliens.
I was bummed too, everybody.
Yeah, sorry. Because I think the idea was he thought he saw a UFO once. This is a very weird tangent, but yeah, Jimmy Carter at some point said that he saw a UFO, and then when he became president, he was like, so did I? And they're like, if you did, it was probably like a spy plane.
Damn. What about magic? Oh, well, magic is real, Mr. President, but we can't tell anyone about that yet.
Oh, magic's real, yeah. I mean, here's your wand.
Also, the power of love is real, but we can't tell people about that either.
Yeah. So, I know a lot of people mentioned, like, the JSA and, some older
really
team, Legion of Superheroes. These are teams that never appealed to me. And even as a comic book person, I still don't like those teams that don't want to be at them.
I really like the JSA, but I like them from afar, being like, yes, a connection to the golden age where these heroes are alive and well and get to be elder statesmen of the DC comic universe. That's good. You keep doing you, JSA.
See, for me, I'm like, I don't. Who needs that? Who wants that? Like, Superman's the elder statesman. You don't need like Jay Garrick to do anything.
But I was running around in the 40s, though. I had this hat on my head,
right,
with, like, wings and stuff.
True, you did have that. That was a thing. Good on you, man. But
don't forget me.
What about? What are some teams that you actively looked for? You were like, this is a team.
So again, I
know Secret Six is one of them.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth, Sal. That's what was coming up. Dude, we've been doing this show for too long now. You can finish my goddamn
Here it comes.
sentences.
I'm like, Secret Six is coming up.
See, again, love my D-list villains. Love me some Gail Simone. It was the perfect storm for me. I love that they were all kind of these just like broken, shitty people, many of whom peaked way too early in their supervillain careers.
Yes.
And this was them just like trying to get a piece of that pie.
Mm-hmm.
And the heroes didn't like them because they were villains, and the villains didn't like them because they were trying to be more heroic and trying to, better themselves. It was this perfect, like they were in a no-win situation no matter what they did.
I remember that reminds me of when I was reading a book that came out like at a weird time, and I don't know who it was for, and it reminds me of this, and it was The Deadly Foes of Spider-Man, which Nick Spencer brilliantly took up and did like kind of right. Or
wasn't it Superior Foes?
It used to be I think it was originally the OG team was The Deadly Foes of Spider-Man,
right,
and then he brought them back and made them into the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. But like
one of the best comedy books of the last
but similar concept where we go home with these people and we see how dysfunctional and broken they are and how they don't want to do this and how that's actually, it's through Deadly Foes of Spider-Man that Rhino goes from having like a really dumb outfit where he's got like purple shoulder pads to just looking like a dude in a Rhino suit again. It was, but the idea of exploring the supervillains from a sympathetic perspective was one that, because I bought it because it says Spider-Man on it, and then I was like, I am not prepared for this kind of thought exercise where I have to.
I love that idea.
Yeah, and it great. It was shattered my whole expectation about like supervillains and who they were, and it allowed me to like kind of build into the concept of like supervillains are heroes in their own story,
Yeah,
and it's really cool. And man, Nick Spencer took it another direction and made it really cool.
Made it a wonderful schlub comedy starring Boomerang, of all people.
Yeah.
Boomerang, who has a wonderfully tragic story of almost making it, where it's like, I was a baseball pitcher, I did really great. I made a bunch of, like, athlete money and everything. And then I pissed it all away on drugs and partying, and then the Secret Empire found me and said, hey, you want to be a supervillain? He's like, sure, can't fall much lower than this.
That's right. That's sad.
Very.
I was just thinking about supervillain teams, because, like, that's kind of the most recognizable teams for me.
It's true. The
like,
Sinister Six,
the
when
Sinister
they're
Six!
actually doing it good.
Yeah, especially for a loner like Spider-Man, for me, I'm like, yeah, the teams that work are the teams of villains. Of course, they always are destroyed from within, because they're all...
by their own ego, or hoisted by their own petard.
Precisely. But you got other teams like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants,
Love that. Although I'm glad they shortened it to just the Brotherhood, because it kind of confuses their message when it's like, we demand equal rights as mutants. Then why do you have evil in your name?
Yeah, they did change their name. I don't remember what they changed it to. I think it's called like the Freedom Force or something like that. Like they changed it to a much more like, we'll call them Freedom Fries. Like they changed the name to something more PC and political when they were like, no, we're trying to appeal to a different demographic, but
when you say evil mutants, that kind of defeats your whole purpose, doesn't it?
Really does.
It's also like what villain straight up says, I'm evil.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the Freedom Force. But yeah, the Mystique is like, we need a new image. Freedom Force.
We need to update ourselves for the 90s. We need, what is a good pithy one-liner to get us in there.
I never really understood the Crime Syndicate until they were immortalized in the Injustice lore, or the Justice Lords in Justice League Unlimited, and then of course in
Excellent
Forever
episode.
Evil. But then they became interesting. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I think that's cool.
What if you invert your favorite heroes? What happens?
Yeah, and thankfully that came on. Like I became interested in that and really delved into it by the time really, really talented and competent writers were working on it. Like. Then I got to read Justice League of America, Earth 2 by Grant Morrison. I'm like, oh, okay, it's weird, but like I get the idea here, and it works.
Let us not forget the Secret Society of Supervillains. That's another really good.
Yeah, God, or of course, if you're a cartoon viewer in like the 70s or whatever, you liked the Legion of Doom.
Did you hear, because obviously the Legion of Doom are the villains now of this newest season of Legends of Tomorrow, did you know how they eventually gave them the name Legion of Doom?
You mean back in the day?
No, like for this new show, do you know how they eventually arrived at calling them the Legion of Doom?
Oh, no, I did not.
This will make you pull your goddamn hair out, because it made me pull my hair out. Citizen Steele, the resident historian of the team, just starts calling them the Legion. And it's like, why the Legion? Well, after that cartoon, And I'm like, you mean he's seen Super Friends? And he's calling them that because he remembers Super Friends. To which someone in my comment section said, well, he could be referencing any cartoon. No, he's referencing the Super Friends.
That's weak.
That's really weak. Fuck you, Legends.
Yeah, no, I don't care for that.
that made me so... I don't know why I keep watching Legends sometimes. Legends pisses me off, but like every so often they'll do something cool, or I'll get a good rant topic like this.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a team that won't be on this list, the Legends.
No. Oh yeah, the Legends of Tomorrow. No, that is not a good team. I know.
Which I like. They keep saying, don't call us heroes. We're legends. No, you're neither.
Yeah, I will call you garbage and move on.
You are the cast-offs, is what you are.
The cast-offs. It's hard to imagine, but like the Guardians of the Galaxy were a totally forgettable niche team that didn't even look like the movie team until long after they were
many years after the fact.
Yeah, like where's Major Victory? What that's all I can say about that.
Major Victory, Yondu. People forget Yondu was on the original team.
I mean, thankfully I think they're gonna put him on this new team in the movie. But like, so
because why would you not want to put that actor in everything?
No, it's true. Michael Rooker's amazing. I would put him in everything if I could.
The Rook is the man.
Yeah. But the Guardians were never a team that I was interested in because I wasn't really interested in Marvel cosmology. It's why I didn't really care about the Infinity Watch. I was like, oh, a team that is made up of characters that I don't recognize or care about, who are specifically there to prevent a book that I didn't really think was very good from happening again.
To bring it back to X-Men there for a second too, who could forget the Starjammers, the X-Men affiliated Guardians?
No, I'll take the Starjammers because for me that's just like the Starjammers are just the dudes that Cyclops' dad hung out with when he was like palling around the galaxy. I dig that concept. I didn't like the team. I didn't read them. Much like the Hellfire Club, I didn't think that a bunch of aristocratic, crappy villains all on one team going, yes, perhaps we'll defeat the X-Men today. How droll. Like, no. That does not appeal to me.
See, I've always loved the Hellfire Club as a concept. When people are like, oh, well, if you had mutant powers, who would you join? The X-Men or the Brotherhood? Neither, man. Hellfire Club, because they were all just into hedonism and using their powers for personal gain, man.
Perhaps I'll wear the stripes strap-on today. And
Exactly.
then I'll buy a small restaurant and try that out. Like, yeah, that was their villainy.
Exactly. You get a ruffled collar. You get to go to all these secret society eyes wide shut parties. You get to drink your brandy and swirl it around. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Well, me, because those guys are boring and stupid.
Although, here's the thing, like, if you were Sebastian Shaw or, you know, like, any of the other, like,
Emma
named
Frost.
members of the... Emma Frost, if you were any of the other named members of the Hellfire Club, you're probably having a good time.
Yeah.
But if you were just, like, one of the lower-level guys in the Hellfire Club who'd be like, oh, no, the X-Men are attacking the mansion again.
Yes. Throw one of our little underlings at them. Throw one of our masked associates. Oh, like those interchangeable Hydra-esque agents that we have. And
Basically bring out the Gimp.
Yeah, take out the putties and throw them at Wolverine.
Oh no, Wolverine's killing us all again.
Time to bid a hasty retreat into the jet.
Hamptons. To the Hamptons, tra-la-la-la-la.
Exactly, yeah. Fuck the Hellfire Club, those 1% douche nozzles.
I love them though. But I don't know if I love them ironically. Is the thing.
Yeah, I
love
do.
them
I only like making fun of them. I don't like reading about them. Whenever they were in like the X-Men cartoon, I'm like, oh my god, the Inner Circle. Fuck you.
They haven't been a threat in years either, have they?
Don't that. By the way, Marvel, don't then make them into one. Like, don't be like, that's right. And you know, people are really like into this whole political aspect of comics. Like, let's do that. Let's make a comic where the villains are the 1% and they have superpowers and they just want to preserve their money and position in society. Like, no, I don't want to read that.
They're actually already kind of doing that in USA Avengers right now with the Golden Skull.
Oh yeah, God. Yeah, I read the first issue of that.
I actually really like the USA Avengers as a team. I think they're a really strong group of personalities. I think they're fun superhero-y stories, but I also don't think that book will make it.
Oh no, I read the first issue and was like, cool. Threw it away.
This ain't making it though. I'm not gonna get my heart broken in this.
No, it's right. I'm not gonna sign a MoveOn or Change.org petition about saving the U.S. Avengers.
But to bring it back to what you were saying, the Golden Skull, when you find out what his deal is, he's the ultimate evil 1%er capitalist from a future where everything was destroyed. So he comes back to this day and age because there's more things to steal.
Oh my god. Okay.
And he kidnaps all the captains of industry, and he's like, no, they already have stolen everything, so I'll steal them, and then I'll control all the things they control.
All right.
And his henchmen all dress up like pirates.
Yes, they do.
Awesome. I love the Golden Skull. I really do.
God damn it.
He's so dumb, he's the best.
Now, as far as teams today, obviously, like, I never thought I'd be into the Avengers, and yet I've been reading the Avengers since 2000.
Yeah.
Or since 2001 or 2 or something like that. Whenever Bendis jumped on and killed them all and then made them characters I wanted to read about. Like, I went from Disassembled and I had been reading Avengers. I remember the day I stopped. It was in the Heroic Age when they brought Vision back to life. And I went, oh, you're doing it. You're bringing them all back and making them all boring again. Bye. And damn was I right to quit then, because it got more and more messy and stupid. But I liked the Avengers for a time. And I liked the idea that the Avengers were a thing, and then they keep transforming every generation.
They do, especially now where you have like more choice in Avengers book than anything. You can read the more classic, Wade Avengers going on right now, which is all the characters you remember, but mostly their new version. So you got Sam and Jane. Also Spider-Man. I know some people feel Spider-Man shouldn't be an Avenger. Where do you stand on that?
He's been an Avenger for, 18 years?
At least.
Or 15 years at least. Like, he's been an Avenger for so long, it's fine. Spider-Man joined the Avengers a couple times. He tried to do it in, like, Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 3. He became a reservist in the 80s. He helped, he was kicked off the team when he didn't show up enough. He's always been, whenever Captain America's, sends out the call, there's always Spider-Man in the background, webbed upside down, just paying attention, being like, what do you need?
It's always the first to answer.
It's always the first to answer the call, and I think that's Avengers quality.
He's also funding the team now, which is interesting.
Which, for as long as that lasts. I really hate the direction of Spider-Man so far. I think that Spider-Man funding the team through his own organization or whatever is a great concept. I just don't think anyone is doing it right. But I like Spider-Man on the Avengers. But I don't like seeing him not be represented. You know, like when he needs to be established as indispensable. Otherwise, there's no point. It's like having Green Arrow on the Justice League. Like, unless you have a writer who really likes Green Arrow and proves how important he is, he's just Green Batman with fewer with fewer tools.
And I love Green Arrow, and I agree.
Right? Like, I love Green Arrow. I think he's a great character, and I think he's an essential member of the Justice League. But if you have a Justice League where Batman's on there and Green Arrow, you better have a fucking damn good reason to have Green Arrow on that team. And I feel the same way about Spider-Man.
Honest, damn it.
Yeah. It'll keep him honest. Like, no. Batman keeps them honest.
We need you to join the team. We need you to keep us honest.
Yeah, no, Batman keeps them honest through fear. But I like the idea of Spider-Man being on the Avengers more than I have enjoyed the execution of Spider-Man on the Avengers.
You got your Uncanny Avengers right now, which has gotten really good in the last couple arcs. I would say it's the best X-Men book right now because it's all been focused on Deadpool, Rogue, Cable, and their battle against Red Skull to get Xavier's brain back.
That's a great story. I'd like to see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's really fun. Occupy Avengers, another book I really enjoy from a writer I really enjoy that I don't think is going to make it. It's Hawkeye trying to redeem himself for what happened between him and Hulk in Civil War II. Again, it's a more socially conscious, socially relevant book. You know, he's trying to help the little guy. He's trying to, you know, right wrongs that the other heroes can't be bothered writing.
Right.
And then USA Avengers, which is more just kind of James Bond superhero silliness, and I like that too.
What's that?
I was going to say, in USA Avengers, which is more like James Bondian superhero.
You know, it looked like
silliness.
that. It looked very much like a James Bond villain-esque book. Weird.
It is. It's. I think now there's a real like smattering of Avengers book. Like there's an Avengers book out there for every taste now, I would say.
That's good. I mean, yeah, it's better than washing down Avengers and making it like something for everybody to the point where it loses any taste or specific goodness. But yeah, are there any teams that don't get enough love that need to exist? Like some teams where it's like, where are these teams and why aren't they getting any more attention, exposure, or will hopefully come back?
I'm sure some people would say the Young Avengers, but I think we already have the Champions, and I think the Champions are doing what the Young Avengers set out to do, but better.
I like the Champions. I like the concept more than its recent execution, but I think that there is potential, if not hope. I don't think there's hope for the Champions to succeed, but I think that there's a lot of potential for the Champions to succeed.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm liking where it's going, because like I said, I enjoyed the Young Avengers when I saw them in other things, like obviously the new Hawkeye is probably the biggest success story from the Young Avengers, right?
Is she even on the team yet?
What, Champions? No.
Yeah.
No, because she has her own book now. She has a
I'm sorry.
book.
I thought you meant just like, I thought you were talking about her being on the team. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if young Hawkeye joined the Champions. But yes, out of all the Young Avengers, I mean, like, I think they were pushing Wiccan the hardest, and I think his biggest claim to fame is that he is in Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme,
right?
And only like an older version of him, so it's not even real Wiccan. But shit, what's her name?
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop Hawkeye is great, like, and the only success that team
out of
has
that
ever
whole
seen.
team.
Yeah. And thankfully, I think it's because Matt Fraction just wanted to talk about her.
Yeah, and he did a damn good job. I'm actually really excited for the Generations book that's going to see her and Hawkeye come back together now after they've fallen so far apart and had so much shit happen to them. Yeah,
man, that Generations thing, I don't know what to expect or think. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, me too.
But, yeah. For me, it's funny, you mentioned the Champions. That was, for me, like, the biggest potential, but it's just, I don't think it's going to last. Because I like the idea of the Champions being like a Young Avengers, basically, where you can rotate out the cast and replace them with different people. Like, I would love to see Patriot join the Champions and, maybe lead them at some point or another.
Getting a new Patriot soon.
I know. But I liked the old Patriot. He was a good character.
He was fun and had an interesting history.
Yeah, he did. Well, he comes from a place of continuity and legacy, which I like.
That's always a good thing. We've gotten this far and we haven't talked about the Thunderbolts or the Suicide Squad.
Oh my god, yeah, supervillain teams forced to do good by their governments. Man, that's the first thing that Marvel and DC should do when they are able to cross over again is the Thunderbolts versus the Suicide Squad.
That's a money maker right there. I love the moral gray area on that. I've always really enjoyed that thing where it's like, you're bad, but we're gonna force you to do good at gunpoint.
Yeah. It's funny. I loved the concept more than I read it. Thunderbolts, when it came on the scene after Heroes Return, I was like, or Heroes whatever the fuck, when they died and then became drawn by Rob Liefeld, I was like, no, like they look really silly and hokey. And then it turns out it was because it's villains dressing as superheroes, like trying to pretend. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's a great surprise. And I think who wrote that when it first started? I think it was Busiek. But,
yeah, I want to agree. For me, it's all like the Osborn years were like the Thunderbolts that I really found myself drawn to, and I think most people would agree.
Oh, no question. Everybody remembers that version of the Thunderbolts the most, and I dig it. But for me, I always liked the concept of the Thunderbolts more than I ever read it.
To bring it back to the Suicide Squad for a second there, it's funny, eventually by the end of Secret 6, we found out Waller was actually secretly running both teams and had them fight each other.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
That's one of my favorite twists, and I think it was, like the new Lady Flag Smasher or someone, or said to Waller, it's like, does your left hand even know what your right hand is doing? And she's like, that's a state secret.
That's fun.
God, I love Waller. Waller's a fun character.
Waller's a cool character. Actually, I would love to see, I guess, who technically runs the Thunderbolts nowadays?
They're a rogue operation now with Bucky at the helm.
Although, the developments with Bucky, who knows what's going to happen with him?
That's true. I wonder. And it's funny, too, that Bucky essentially reassembled the old version of the team minus Zemo as, what is it?
Citizen V?
Yeah, Citizen V.
No, Citizen V, that codename is now over at U.S. Avengers.
Yes, that's now, DaCosta has taken that as his new codename, which you just know with Secret Empire and all these books crossing over, that's going to be a thing.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll fight Zemo, and Zemo will be like, hey, that was my name, asshole. I'll give that back.
Yeah, what? You can't be Citizen V.
I came up with that. I worked nights. I drew the concept art and everything.
Yeah, you know how hard it was to make that costume work? I had one of those ridiculous masks. I had a cape. I had a sword.
A cape made of a flag.
Yeah. Oh, man. As far as teams that are here now that like I look to the future, I feel okay. What's a team that's like you think that there's no way they won't bring it back? Even though it doesn't look like there's any way they could come back. I'll let you think about that for a minute, because I'm like, I think Next Wave is inevitable that you'll see Next Wave come back, but it's like, There's no writing on the wall. This is just me prognosticating that I think Next Wave will eventually be brought back in some form or another.
I mean, we know for a fact Defenders is coming back. It's just going to be the team from the TV show now.
Yeah, Defenders is basically just New Avengers, but with the TV name, which is like, yeah, I'm down. I'll read the shit out of that. I read the shit out of that 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, the chat had a good one. Yeah, Heroes for Hire. Yeah, they'll definitely have to come back at some point. Even though we had Power Man and Iron Fist, and they were basically Heroes for Hire, but now they've split them into two different books. They'll definitely be coming back. Tiffany
really is really hoping that one day they will do a Netflix series that stars Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, and Patsy Walker, and just do a Heroes for Hire series that's just starring...
back during the era when Misty ran the team.
Yeah, exactly. But just do a Netflix original show with those characters that they're not going to be using in any place.
I mean, Colleen and Misty were already the best parts of their respective shows.
No question. Yeah, agreed.
There you go.
So you just bring in Patsy.
But put Claire in there, why not?
Yeah, Claire, Patsy, Misty, and Colleen. Boom, you got a show.
Got a fuck of a team right there. Hell, we've seen Claire just recently in, in the end of Sam Wilson number 20, which again, looking just like Rosario Dawson. And I'm like, man, you could put them together in a team right now and sell it as the new Daughters of the Dragon.
Yeah, that's a book, although it'd be hard to sell. It
would be.
Well, it's funny, Marvel doesn't give a shit about that anymore. They'll call their book whatever and then just make it. So you might as well just put it out like that.
You know what? I was actually a huge fan of, while we're on the subject of Defenders, and because we kind of crapped on Cullen Bunn at the beginning of this for his X-Men. Cullen Bunn wrote a really hilarious, really underrated new reboot of the Defenders called the Fearless Defenders. It was Valkyrie, Misty Knight, Elsa Bloodstone,
Right.
and a few other people that I'm forgetting. I think he invented a couple new heroes, and it was goddamn hilarious.
Oh, cool.
And I loved it, and it was action-packed, and it was so good. And I remember I drew that one just out of nowhere. It's like, hey, Joel, talk about this. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. And I ended up being totally won over by it. There's a really early bit on where they go to like a test site for nuclear weapons, and someone has set up a bunch of like superhero wax standees.
Okay.
So they keep coming across like Captain America and Thor, but they're all in like their old costumes.
Oh, cool.
Danny Moonstone was on the team too. Yes, that's right, weirdo. She was on the team.
No way!
And she was really good.
Good for her. She get to be in there.
They
Yeah, that's
built
the
up
thing.
an awesome team.
It's funny. I liked the kind of like reimagining of the classic Defenders, and when I say classic Defenders, I guess I mean like the team with Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and the Hulk on it, where it was Matt Fraction's run on the Defenders.
Oh yeah.
Neat idea that just didn't survive. It just was. It was doomed to a 12-issue run, but great concept. And sad it didn't work out because it was just a cool idea. I like the idea of Doctor Strange being like, "We need a team."
I'm glad to see so much love for Fearless Defenders in here because Ian Powell was saying, and then they did a whole episode or issue where the boyfriends of all those female heroes teamed up and they're like, hey, where are our girlfriends at? And they had to like go find them. But it was hilarious because I think it was like Danny had like 3 boyfriends. It was like, I thought she was with me. Well, she was with me before.
That's fun. I like that.
That was a really funny issue. Oh, and Doctor Strange's wife, Clea, she was on the team too, so Strange was there as well.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out.
It's like, hey, what happened to the woman I've been with for, I guess, a while?
Yeah.
And they're like, we've been off doing hero stuff, you dicks.
Yeah, what have you been up to, you jerk? The same
nothing.
thing.
We didn't have a book or a movie at this time, so nothing.
Oh, that's sad. But, yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, some of our favorite teams are not everybody's, but there's always, like... I think that if you have strong writing and, of course, dynamic art behind your team, you could make a team out of anything and make it successful.
It's true.
Anything. I mean, in our previous DC episode where we talk about running DC Comics, most of the pitches are for teams, and I think
just characters we want to see again who we feel couldn't hold up their own thing. Oh, Mr. Pink had a good one too. The Illuminati.
The Illuminati, I don't really even consider a team because while they did work together, it was more like they're a team in the same way that like a committee that like makes decisions is a team. Like, I mean, I guess they're a team.
There's no love or camaraderie there. That's
no,
for sure.
It's all business. And when they try to like hang out and talk to each other, they realize just how disparate and different they all are from each other. Which is fine. I mean, it's a cool idea. There's one issue in the Bendis one where they talk about their girlfriends and wives.
Aww.
And that's kind of neat. It's a fun little back and forth. You get to see like Black Bolt this is his impression of his verbalization of his marriage to Medusa is him putting a gun in his mouth and pulling the trigger.
Oh wow, dude.
Yeah.
Counseling.
And it's a flashback issue too, so it's just them talking about it like during their period. It's Doctor Strange shows up to the meeting and he's pissed and everyone's like, "What's the matter?" And he's like, "Kalia left me to go rule the dark dimension." And like I think only Reed knows who Clea is. The rest of them are like, "You were with somebody?" And he was like, "I'm so sorry. Like, what is the dark dimension?" And Doctor Strange is like, "It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a dark place that sucks. She left me to be a bad guy." And everyone's like, "I'm sorry, Steve." And then they're like, and Reed's like, "Well, I'm doing quite well. I have a beautiful invisible wife who shows up only when I want her to." And
godlike children.
Yeah, and Namor's amazing because he basically says something like, "Your wife is going to leave you because you keep her locked in a tower, and that's why she thinks I'm so hot, you tool. If you weren't
also, I am.
Yeah, if you weren't such a douche, your wife wouldn't look at me twice." And you're like, "That's cool."
Also, look at the abs of Namor for a second.
Yes. Also, check me out in my glory. This is a swimmer's body, Richards.
I am shredded.
Namor is shredded.
And as the chat keeps yelling at me, yes, the Psycho Rangers were a cool villain team.
Yes, the Psycho Rangers. Moving on.
Great designs.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, I want to see more team books, but at the same time, it's a tough sell for me. I have to be sure that they're going to be something to read. I want to be sure that they're going to be worth reading, is my problem. And for the most part, like, when I decide to stop or to not pick up a book, and then, like, 2 issues later it's dead, or you hear the buzz and it just sucks, it's like, damn it. I want to be unjustified in my feeling that way, but apparently it's not far off.
Perfect example of that. Look at Justice League right now. None of us are reading Justice League right now.
It's a terrible book. It's just not a good book. And it's like, that's inexcusable that Justice League sucks.
It's a flagship. Because, like, you know, that's the thing about all these team books. They have ups and downs. They have good eras and bad eras.
Yeah. And I get why people think Justice League sucks when Bloodwind and Green and Guy Gardner with Sinestro's Ring sucks. But, like, it's a Team Batman. It's the whole trilogy. Like, it's everybody. And yet, it's just
it's still not good.
Well, and it's the problem is you just don't have a strong writer on the book.
Got no reason to care.
Yeah, the stakes are who cares, and the characters are whatever. Like, it's just not, and that's the thing. Strong characters make a great team. At the end of the day, but you have to also be able to balance them. You know, like that's why Wolverine is like kind of like the front and center for like this weird, stupid era of X-Men, because like writers didn't know what to do, and they're like, we'll just put Wolverine in front of everybody.
Speaking of Wolverine, is Weapon X a team? Would you consider that a team?
It is now. Now
it is.
I kind of always figured that really awesome like Black Ops X-Force team was basically Weapon X.
Yeah.
So
that's a good team. That's a good team. Good costumes.
Yeah, it will become a team, but I don't think it should be. You know, like the concept of Weapon X is like that's like the name of the program that you were all ruined in, not necessarily like
when you start wearing that on your jackets.
Yeah, like, and of course it's like, well, it's an X, it's Xavier, blah blah blah. Like, no, that's appropriating the bad name and then turning it into something good, which I guess you could do.
I was gonna say, then like you think of stuff too. It's like, well, then you have the Tuskegee Airmen and the Tuskegee Experiment. So it's like, well, that was the name of the team and the name of the horrifying experiment at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that does. Yeah, technically, there is a precedent for it, but you know, meh. I don't know. I'm. Yeah, I don't know if it's a team. I mean, it is a team by virtue of the fact that it's a group of people brought together to accomplish a goal, but. I don't know how long it'll last. I'll put it that way.
And will they refer themselves as like, hey, we're the Weapon X?
Yeah. What are we, just a couple of Weapon X? Like, we're just a Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we're just a Suicide Squad.
That's what we are, huh? We're just some kind of Weapon X?
Yeah. Alpha Flight, the chat was mentioning Alpha Flight a bunch, too.
Yep, they exist.
Can't forget that.
Thanks for watching.
And on that note, we end the show on Alpha Flight.
Yeah, good call, chat. Way to bring up Alpha Flight at the last minute. Alpha Flight existed. Puck. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys
It's
next
interesting to see that Alpha Flight has been folded into the Captain Marvel stuff now, and now you see them, but only when Carol is around.
Yeah. Somebody likes them. Somebody over there writing about them.
Hey, good to see my fellow Canadians getting some work.
Yeah.
Getting paid that sweet, sweet American money.
Right?
Because you know they're like, yes, but we get paid in American, right?
Oh, yeah, and then we exchange.
Damn right.
But, hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with us and watching us chat about our favorite teams and least favorite teams, I guess, was also another thing we mentioned.
This could easily have kept going. We could have split this into heroes and villain teams so easily.
Oh, yeah. And yet, as is tradition with this show, we'll just do it next time.
Yep.
But we'll see you guys next time. Joel, what's happening on Cape Joel? Everybody can enjoy and watch. Coming up.
Well, if you head on over to my channel right now, Matt and I just had the 50th episode of the Comic Multiverse. We did our spoiler cast of the Power Rangers movie because, strangely, Australian Matt and me ended up seeing the movie on the same day, which almost never happens.
Nice.
But thankfully, I won a radio contest when I was out in Victoria, so I got to see the movie early, which was nice.
Yeah.
First time I've ever done that, actually.
What, seeing a movie at a premiere?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was.
Nice.
Which, it's so weird that it was this one. I'm like, really, it's this one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, that is fate. That is kismet, my friend.
That happened. That was the thing I was there for. And it was so funny to, like, have me be a fan there and see all the normies who were just there for the premiere.
Yeah.
and when a big cameo happens in the movie, and I was like, hey, and no one else knew, that was a pretty good moment. That was a pretty good feeling.
Right?
I'm like, you normies.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see that. That's fun. I'll have reviews coming out for the rest of the week for all the new comics that came out. Was a small week, but still doesn't stop the channel from rocking.
No, it's true. So over here on ComicPOP, you can check out our discussion of The Unworthy Thor #5, our bonus episode of Elseworlds, where I chat with Brad Geiger about not safe for work comic books, or comic strips, I should say. And of course, our upcoming episode of Back Issues, where we talk about Superman speeding bullets from Elseworlds. The only fitting I should mention it on Elseworlds that we're doing an Elseworlds book. But come check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's a great episode. And we also rolled out new covers for Back Issues to try and widen our reach, because some people just wouldn't click at the thumbnail because they see 3 randos and like the name of a book. So we're trying it out. I mean, it's not necessarily permanent, but we're just rolling it out to see if it casts a wider net. If it works, you can get used to it. But I am still taking those poster images of the gang on the couch with the title for posterity. So if when we go over to when we hit 400,000 subscribers or 500, or when we hit our million subs, I'll change the covers back.
There you go. So what you got to do online, man, you got to experiment. Of course, people have been looking at my channel. I've been changing stuff up too.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's the nature of the beast. You got to keep changing to make things fluid and bring up or to grow your audience.
YouTube is a cruel mistress.
It is. And you got to try new things. You just got to keep evolving. Evolve or die, as they say. But thanks a lot for hanging out and checking this out, and we'll see you guys next time with another episode. I am Sal.
I'm Joel.
So long.